I have been called a hero for saving a drowning man, rescuing a child from a fire, and even pulling a puppy from a raging river. While some may consider these actions crazy, I see them as acts of humanity fueled by adrenaline. It's a guilty pleasure of mine. I have scars from skydiving, bungee jumping, and jumping off waterfalls, making sure the water was deep enough, of course. However, I no longer participate in these activities after a particular incident. It was 7 years ago on New Year's Eve when I was walking back to the dorms in freezing weather after a party that was 6 blocks away. We began our journey with chattering teeth, dreading the 20-minute walk in the freezing cold. Jared, who was drunk, slurred, "Can we take a shortcut through the park?" We hesitated because the city had closed it due to hazards, whatever that meant. Michelle shuddered at the thought of tombstones instead of trees. Jared, Alicia, and I scoffed at the wind that whipped and bit our cheeks. We saved 18 minutes, so we went in. We gate-hopped, crunching through the snow that was eerily beautiful at 2 am. Memories of childhood park. Visits surfaced as the moon glinted off frosted branches. Tourist-filled boats float on the pond in the summer, accompanied by the sound of childhood laughter. Even in the dead of winter, in the dead of night, the scenery remains beautiful. The only disturbance to the peacefulness is Michelle and Jared's loud debate about alcohol tolerance. Sobriety can be burdensome. Alicia and I were lifeguards for those who were tipsy and prone to stumbling. Then we came across the pond, which was moon-drenched and breathtaking. Our hearts leaped into our throats as we stopped and saw a tiny figure isolated on the icy expanse. We panicked and clutched our phones, dialing for help. Alicia was the first to connect and spoke frantically, providing details to the dispatcher. The girl stood silently and motionless, like a statue against the frozen backdrop. I asked, "Are you okay?" My voice boomed across the frozen silence, hands cupped like megaphones. There was stillness. I hushed my friends on shore and strained to hear a faint whisper that snaked into my ear. Pressing my hand against the frozen wind, I listened. The sound was elusive but undeniable, causing my gut to clench. I rasped, "The ice is breaking," my words heavy with dread. It was crucial that someone reach her immediately. My companions paced, their faces etched with indecision, and if they wouldn't act, I would. I took deep breaths to steady my racing heart. I stepped onto the ice with a nod. Their eyes widened in alarm as they noticed my hesitant movement. Jared blurted out, "What the hell are you doing?" with shock in his voice. Alicia pleaded with outstretched arms. Don't, however, waiting was not an option. I hesitated, fearing she would disappear into the icy depths. Adrenaline coursed through my veins, and despite my better judgment, I let out a nervous chuckle. My steps felt slow, almost glacial, even as I forced myself to move faster. I walked cautiously, keeping my eyes fixed on the treacherous surface below. As I muttered to myself, a loud crack shattered the silence, wiping the smile off my face. I stopped in my tracks, but the ice remained solid. I quickened my pace, keeping my eyes on the girl and the danger below. As I approached, I noticed her pale complexion, which almost matched the snow. Was it just the moonlight or something else? She appeared to shimmer, like frosted glass reflecting silver light. I couldn't help but wonder if she was alive. The question nagged at my mind, however. I couldn't think of any other reason why she would be standing on the brittle ice. Suddenly, I heard a sound, barely audible, but still a sound. I quickly took off my jacket and flung it forward. "Everything's all right," I said, trying to calm my shaky voice. I was about to shield her, but something stopped me cold, and my blood turned to ice. The girl's pale eyes met mine across the frozen gulf, but they weren't eyes at all. The empty voids were bottomless and black, swallowing the moonlight whole. Something monstrous and ancient stirred in their depths, sending a primal scream clawing up my throat. It seemed my heroics had taken a terrifying turn. The ice beneath the girl was not solid. A hidden crack opened, revealing a monstrous creature lurking beneath the frozen surface. A pale, spiked tentacle, cold and menacing, gripped the girl's leg with inhuman force, causing her ribs to snap and blood to bloom on her lips and torso, staining the pristine white snow. Looking down, I saw a creature beneath the ice. It was pale grey, monstrous and writhing in the dark water. Its body was covered in jet black veins and jagged spikes. It had crimson eyes bordered with black, staring up at me with chilling hunger. Its grotesque smile revealed rows of rotted yellow fangs stretching across its face. Panic clawed at my throat as my jacket fell from my numb fingers. My heart pounded against my chest like a frantic drum solo in the frozen silence. I was too scared to move as the creature dragged the girl's lifeless body through the broken ice and disappeared into depths. I scanned the treacherous surface, searching for any sign of the monster. My friends were halfway across the ice, calling my name and urging me to join them. I whimpered pathetically and choked, but their prayers spurred me into action, despite the horror I had witnessed. I pushed past the paralysis of fear and forced my legs to move. Adrenaline overrode the cold that gnawed at my skin as I ran, the ice scraping against my boots. "Run, get off the ice," I screamed in terror, my voice hoarse. They stopped, confused, with their hands outstretched towards me. Jared yelled back, "Come on, hurry," with concern in his voice. I pleaded, "Just go. Don't come any closer." Desperation cracked my voice as my foot caught on a hidden edge, sending me sprawling onto the ice. Pain exploded in my skull as my head slammed against the frozen surface. A cold grip seized my ankle, dragging me towards the gaping maw in the ice. The water felt like 1,000 icy needles stabbing into my skin. I closed my burning eyes and choked back a scream, conserving air. Another tentacle wrapped around my shoulder, dislocating it with a sickening crack. The pain was excruciating. I knew what was waiting below, making it even worse. Air tears mixed with the freezing water on my face. My lungs burned, but I couldn't seem to draw a breath. The creature's grip tightened, and I let out a final scream before darkness took over. The last thing I saw were its crimson eyes, burning with malevolent hunger. The creature's spiked tentacles dug into my throat, stealing my breath and my life, its face twisted into a cold, mocking smile. I struggled against the cold, my adrenaline masking the pain in my shoulder. I grabbed the creature's jaw and pried it open, feeling its slick tentacles thrash against me. Despite the pain from its snapping teeth, I persisted. Suddenly, a glimmer of moonlight pierced the water, revealing 3 frantic hands reaching down towards me. Exhausted but determined, I kicked and twisted until the creature's jaw widened with a bone-jarring crack, releasing me into the murky depths. My lungs burned with icy water as I reached for the fading light above. My arms grew heavy and my limbs numb. Just as darkness threatened to engulf me, I sensed my friends pulling me up. I woke up in a hospital room, feeling warm and hearing the rhythmic beep of a machine. The walls were blurry, and my body ached as I tried to move. My friends were there looking anxious, but they were relieved when I weakly squeezed their hands. They bombarded me with questions about what had happened. "It's nothing you need to know," I said hoarsely. The memory of the encounter left a bitter taste in my mouth. Michelle persisted, but what will you tell the police? The truth was too dangerous, too unbelievable. I drank too much, I mumbled. It was a stupid dare. It wasn't a complete lie, but it was enough to shield them, and myself, from the chilling reality. After that encounter, my days were a blur of pain. The memory of it haunted my sleep. The water, once a source of solace, became a nightmare. The heroic days were over, replaced by a healthy fear of the depths. College scattered us, and time carried us along like leaves on a current. Now, with families of our own, the past seems distant, like a faded photo. However, it is not entirely buried. The nightmares persisted. They were whispers of cold water and crimson eyes that clung to the edges of my dreams. I pushed them back, telling myself that they were over, a relic of my reckless youth. However, 2 weeks ago, our friend Elijah called with a strained voice. Her sons, along with mine, had gone ice skating on her late father's lake. It was just them and the silence. When my son brought them home, he spoke hesitantly in a small voice. He had seen a girl on the ice, pale as the snow, next to a grey shape with 2 red dots. My blood ran cold. It couldn't be the ice, the pale figure, the crimson eyes. And yet, a tendril of fear snaked its way up my spine. I realized that the past wasn't as buried as I thought.